What about just the vibes of an election year where there's going to be massive protests, I assume, at Congress if Netanyahu turns up while leading a genocide? There's going to be massive protests in Chicago at the DNC and uncommitted delegates. We could have a 1968 scene on our hands. How does that general image of chaos and division, Democrats in disarray, which the media loves that headline, how does that help Biden going into a very close election? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's play this clip. And
you mentioned 1968. Here we go.
This is Bernie Sanders on, what was he on this weekend? I don't know.
This is with Emm and Sam on CNN. So he was on yesterday, and
has been doing, we should say, Christian Amanpour has been doing a really
very good. She's
job.
One of the best at CNN right now, without a shadow of a doubt.
And she's showing her bona fides as somebody who is an actual international correspondent, as opposed to someone just sitting in a studio, because she just gets it. Yeah, like what Israel has been engaged in for this long.
There was a long interview with Sanders, but this is apropos for what we've just been talking about.
Semitism is a vile and disgusting ideology, which, as everybody knows, in the last 100 years alone, has led to the deaths of many, many, many millions of people. We got to fight anti-Semitism in every way that we can. But for anybody to suggest that we cannot be critical of the government of Israel or the government of Italy or the government of Ireland, for whatever reason, is not what democracy is about. So I happen to believe, not everybody agrees with me, that the war policies of the Netanyahu government are a disaster. They are causing unprecedented harm. They are in violation of international law and absolutely in violation of American law, by the way. But I think people who are critical, the idea that people who are critical of what Netanyahu is doing are anti-Semitic, that is nonsense, and that is a very, very dangerous line to cross in terms of freedom of expression in this country.
And for our generation who grew up in the era of never again and are very, very committed to that, I think it's really tough when we see this word weaponized and maybe lose its sting and its importance, as Kenneth Stern warns. So I want to ask you, my question to you is, what do you think now is going to happen to Biden and his campaign? Where do you think all of this is going to lead? Because it's also about American foreign policy.
Well, in terms of his campaign, I am thinking back, and other people are making this reference, that this may be Biden's Vietnam. Lyndon Johnson, in many respects, was a very, very good president. Domestically, brought forth some major pieces of legislation. He chose not to run in '68 because of opposition to his views on Vietnam. And I worry very much that President Biden is putting himself in a position where he has alienated not just young people, but a lot of the Democratic base in terms of his views on Israel and this war.
I mean, tough to argue. Although I don't think we're going to see Biden step aside, although I think that would be effective, frankly. But I don't think he's going to step aside.
Yeah, I think that window closed, and the only reason he steps aside now is it's a health issue.
Right.
His poll ratings are not that bad. They're just not. It's a close race, right? It shouldn't be this close. Okay, there's two different things. One, to be clear, it shouldn't be close. Donald Trump shouldn't be close to anyone in a normal country. He would not be polling anywhere near the possibility of winning. The guy's on trial. The guy is a fascist. The guy tried to destroy American democracy. Put that to one side. I think you swap out Biden for any other generic Dem. It's not that they're going to suddenly have a 10-point lead on Trump. It's just, this country is so divided. The negative partisanship is so high that those are the numbers we have. And that's why it's such an important to get your base out, right? So important to get your people knocking on doors in an election where anywhere between 40 to 70,000 voters could decide the entire election for the entire country. You can't take risks. You need to be able to inspire and energize. I just don't see that. And it's not just Gaza, by the way. Are you seeing that on other fronts? I'm not seeing that on other fronts either from Biden.
Well, the
marijuana thing was good, but what do they do?
Well, the marijuana thing, but I'm looking back at the pause that they did on that liquid natural gas export facility permitting. Bill McKibben says that was the biggest thing that we have seen, bigger than the Willow project screw up. Bigger than anything. but there's not going to be any coverage of it because it's all stepped on because of what's going on with.
And you can't even just blame the media or Republican Party. You have Democrats encouraging this crap. You have, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act that was sponsored by a Democrat and a Republican, a ridiculous bill that sucked up media and political oxygen this week.
There's a quality of this that's reminiscent about like the HR 1 when the Democrats took the Congress, the House against Trump, and they're unveiling their big signature piece of legislation, which is going to be a huge message bill. And instead, everybody's talking about Nancy Pelosi censuring Ilhan Omar at the time because that's what they decided to do. There's a similar sort of like quality that's going on here. These whatever it is, providing DACA coverage under Obamacare today. Nobody's going to be talking about that tomorrow because they're talking about Netanyahu or what's going on college campuses.
It's a simple political calculation. If Joe Biden were to come out tomorrow and say, we are cutting arms to Israel until we get a ceasefire right now, until Netanyahu says we're staying out of Rafah, and until more aid goes in, right? If he said that, what would that cost him? What would that cost him? Because I hear people say, well, he can't afford to lose Jewish votes just to win Muslim and Arab votes. Most Jewish voters in this country don't like Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't understand what the political calculation is that prevents you from picking a fight with Benjamin Netanyahu. There is none. He's super unpopular. The only people who like Benjamin Netanyahu in this country are the House GOP, right? Nobody likes Benjamin Netanyahu. It's an easy fight to have. He doesn't have it because he doesn't want to. Because it's not about political calculation. He likes Benjamin Netanyahu. He feels it his obligation to do this behind-the-scenes bullshit strategy where behind the scenes he doesn't like Netanyahu. It just doesn't work. We're 7 months in, and it's a win-win all around. If you come out for a ceasefire, you get international respect. You look like a strong leader. You're doing morally the right thing. You're shoring up your flank with progressives and non-white voters in places like Michigan and Georgia. Who are you pissing off? You're pissing off the House GOP and a few Christian evangelicals.
I think your point about him you're saying that he would look strong. He looks weak. Like, so we talk about his age and that's, that we can't change that, right?
Definitely.
But Sam has made this point before that the age is kind of correlated with a perception of him as a weak leader.
Yes.
And, there was a poll in CNN that said 81% of people, and this was taken a few weeks ago, it's probably higher, of people 18 to 35 disapprove of how he's handling Israel and Gaza. But in general, the majority position in America right now is they don't approve of Israel's actions now, and that's been a shift. So if he wants to look strong, perhaps stand up to the leader of the client state that is entirely dependent on our military aid for their survival by using an ounce of leverage. That would help him with the age stuff because he looks he has some vitality.
When did Biden look strongest as president of the United States? In my view, he looked strongest as president of the United States when he did the State of the Union and he got heckled by Republicans and he heckled them back. Right? People like a fighter. I've said this before. It's not even about left and right. Like, we're on the left. It's not about what your politics, policies. Yeah, that's all important. But actually, people just want someone with fire in their belly who's willing to have a fight. And guess what? You've been given the gift. You can have a fight with Benjamin Netanyahu, Itamar Ben-Gvir, and Bezalel Smotrich, like the worst people. It's like MBS during the Trump era. It was easy for Democrats to call out Trump because the bad guy was MBS, like a cartoon villain. Well, we've got another cartoon villain. His name's Netanyahu.
Yeah, I that's why I say I think it's Biden's most ideological position he's held probably in his career. I mean, you can go back and I'm sure you're aware of that when Menachem Begin came in the wake of the Lebanon invasion of Lebanon. One senator stands up in a caucus meeting and says, "You should kill children, and you're right to do that to protect yourself." And even Menachem Begin, guy who was involved in blowing up the King David Hotel, was like, "Whoa, you got to slow down, buddy." I mean, this is.
Although, to be fair to Biden, it's Begin who tells that story, and he comes out of it very well.
Yes, I guess that's true.
Fair point. Yeah.
I don't remember Biden saying that wasn't me. It's not like Biden disavowed it either, though.
We know he was always a hawk. Look,
he loves Golda Meir, who said, like, basically, it's so sorry we have to kill your children to protect ours. So it's in keeping with what we know about his ideology.
The Biden thing, the thing about Biden is a lot of people have pointed out on social media is he was wrong on civil rights. He came around to the right side. He was wrong on Vietnam. He came around to the right side. He was wrong on Iraq. He came around to the right side. Give him 20 years. He'll come around on Gaza too.
Right. Exactly. Mehdi Hasan, thank you so much for coming on. Folks got to go check out Zeteo. Zeteo.com, is it?
It is indeed. Zeteo.com.
There you go. We'll put a link to that at majority.fm in the podcast and YouTube description. Thanks so much, Mehdi. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Sam.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.